Time to continue working on the assignment that we started yesterday. Okay, so let's write this down here. The first row of seating in an auditorium has 8 seats. All right, so let's write down 8 seats. The second, each row has 2 more seats than the previous row. So the next one would be 10 seats, 12 seats, and so on. Okay. The auditorium, so this is the first row. This ends at row 30. Okay. The question is, how many seats are in the auditorium? All right, well, let's get our little green sheet out. Not little, but. And let's first of all decide, we have a formula that will do the sum for us. Taylor, that's what you were actually, right? When I did that, you were actually doing the sum. And so I don't want to write this in summation notation. I actually want to find the sum. And when I do that, I have 2 formulas for finding the sum. And we talked, do you remember in class yesterday, no, it was Monday, how we lined up 1 through 100 and 1 through 100, and we said, okay, if we added the first plus the last, and we multiplied how many there were and divided by 2, that's going to always give us that sum, okay? So it looks like, in this scenario, I have the first row, yes. I know there's 30 rows. What am I missing? I'm missing the 30th row. So we have some choices here. If you want, this one right here doesn't have the a sub n, so you could try using this formula. Or if that looks too overwhelming to you, you can do what we were just doing in our opener and use the explicit formula to figure out what the last term is, okay? I think that's what I'm gonna do. So if this is defined by a sub n equals a sub 1, which is 8, plus n minus 1 times the common difference. What are these all being added? Okay. And let's set that equal to the 30th term. So now I'm going to find a sub 30 by plugging in 30. 30 minus 1 is 29. What is 8 times 29 times 2? Did you guys, can you confirm, did you get 66? Okay. So now I am going to use my sum formula from the green sheet, and I have that the sum equals the number of terms, which is 30, times the quantity of the first plus the last term, which is 8 plus 66, divided by 2. So 8 plus 66 is 74. So we have 30 times 74 divided by 2. I got that there were 1,110 seats in the auditorium. Just give me an indicator that you're with me and you're seeing the same things on your calculator. Okay. Okay. Then the last thing I want to do is look at the geometric, and the geometric ones, there should be a dot, dot, dot in there, but for the geometric ones, there is a little bit more involved to solve because it involves an exponent rather. The formula is pretty straightforward for this. You do need the first term. You do need the ratio. The ratio is what it's being multiplied by. And you do also need the number of terms. Okay. So let's figure out on this one all of the things. So in general, to do this formula, I'm going to need a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the nth all over 1 minus r. Okay. What's a sub 1? Three? What's r? 2? Okay. This has an explicit formula of a sub n equals 3 times 2 to the n minus 1. That was for what the explicit formula for geometric is. Now at this point, if you wanted to, you could use guess and check to figure out what 1288 is if you wanted to. I'll show you the mathematical way because I'm the math teacher. What do I mean by guess and check? I mean, you could start putting in numbers, understanding that you're going to have to add 1 to that last number. Okay. If you wanted it to do the good old-fashioned math way, I'd take 12,288 and set it equal to this. And the first thing in solving this is, anyone know? Divide by 3. And I get 4096 equals 2 to the n minus 1. Again, at this point, you could start doing guess and check to figure out 2 to what power gives me that. But if you didn't know how to do this, there's only one thing in math that brings an exponent down. Does anybody remember what it is? It starts with an L. Logarithm. So I could take the logarithm of this side and take the logarithm of this side. That drops the exponents down. And so then let's divide both sides by natural log of 2 and see what we're dealing with here. So n minus 1 is 12. That means n is 13. Oh, it's so fun. Okay, let's put all our information into the sum formula then, and then we're going to just be real careful putting this in our calculator to solve, okay? So we have 3. We have 1 minus 2 to the 13th is going to go in a parentheses on top, so make sure we put that in a parentheses. And on the bottom, I suppose this, don't we all know 1 minus 2 is negative 1? So maybe you could do that one. But this one, make sure you realize order of operations. We're doing 1 minus 2 to the 13th first, okay? That's why I want you to use your calculator for that. All right, here we go. I just made this example up yesterday, so it's possible that it's really large. Oh, it's not too bad. I got 24,573. Okay. Am I going too fast? Last one. What if at the end, there should be a dot, dot, dot in here, so I'm going to rewrite this. This should say 42, negative 7, 7, 6, dot, dot, dot. The last term is 42 times negative 1, 6 to the 9th. Okay, here's the nice thing about one of these. I just literally gave you it in explicit form, so we can figure out without logarithms what the last term is or how many terms there are. But just be careful. Remember with the explicit formula, it's n minus 1. So if this is a 9, what term is this really? This is really, n minus 1 is 9 means add 1 to both sides. This is really the 10th term. Okay. I have just enough space. All right, so I put it into my formula, and we want to be real careful with parentheses here. That's why I wanted to do one like this. We're going to find the sum of the sequence. The first term is 42. And we're going to have 1 minus in a parentheses, negative 1/6 to the 10th power over 1 minus a negative 1/6. Okay. Why this is real important that this is in a parentheses is this right here is 1 plus 1/6 on the bottom. But here, I would need to raise it to the 10th first, which would make it positive, but then still subtract. So make sure this stays in a parentheses, its own parentheses. All right, let's practice putting this in. So my 42, 1 minus, in parentheses, negative 1 divided by 6 to the 10th. Close the parentheses after that. Taking a look. On the bottom, I'm going to just write in parentheses 1 plus 1/6 to cut down on errors. So what would you say that equals? 36 is the sum of that. Okay.